Welcome, everybody. For those of you who, I see so many familiar faces. So for those of you who I know, welcome back. So good to see you. And for those of you who are new to Breathe for Change, I'm so excited that you're here to join us for an absolutely rock star, incredible hour ahead with our amazing speaker, Justin Michael Williams, who I'll introduce in a moment. My name is Ilana, and I'm the founder and CEO of Breathe for Change, which is an organization on a mission to enhance the health and well-being of educators, students, and entire communities. And it is such an honor to have all of you here with us today. So without further ado, I want to take up no more time so we can get into it. Today's workshop is called Meditation for Radical Change. The revolution starts inside. And we have the wonderful Justin Michael Williams here. So from growing up with gunshot holes outside of his bedroom window to sharing the stage with Deepak Chopra, Justin Michael Williams knows well the power of healing to overcome. He is an author, transformational speaker, and top 20 recording artist who has been featured by the Wall Street Journal, Grammy.com, Yoga Journal, Billboard.com, Wanderlust, and South by Southwest. In this dynamic session with all of us, you will learn how to use mindfulness to take action. You'll learn why most people are faking their meditation practice and how to overcome it, how to spot internal oppression and stay grounded in moments of uncertainty, how to discover your unique energy signature. I can't wait to hear more about that. And just the number one action that will help you redefine your life on your terms. And Justin will be taking over in just a moment, but if you would like to see his beautiful face solely on the screen, you can press speaker view in the upper right-hand corner. But if you would also, if you'd prefer to choose being here in community and seeing everyone, you can keep yourself on gallery view. And all right, Justin, thank you so much for being here, and take it away.
It is such an honor to be here with you guys. I'm so grateful. I'm so excited. Hello, everybody. Hello. I'm like, oh, and all the waves back. I see you guys. So it's so beautiful. It was funny. So I don't watch sports typically, but I'm in my hometown right now with my family, and I was just with my dad, and he was watching basketball. And I don't know if anybody's been watching basketball, but it's crazy. They have like zoomed in fans in the stands watching like this. And I've just been mostly watching it, being pretty amazed at what we're able to do virtually when we actually bring our whole selves to it. And I think the world is going to see some really positive changes from this, even though we're in the midst of a whole bunch of craziness right now. And so, today's going to be a really fun session. And the way that I'd actually like to start is just to wrap our energy in like the protection of the heart, in some gratitude. This is what I want everybody to do. So listen carefully to my instructions before you type. I want you to type something into the chat box that you have to be grateful for. But before you do that, I want you to know that the science of gratitude is actually a little different than a lot of people expect. And we hear, this is like one of those words we throw around all the time right now, like, oh, have a gratitude practice, like I'm grateful, blah, blah, blah. And then people go, oh, I'm doing a gratitude journal, and you do it for 2 or 3 days and then you're bored, right? And the reason why is because generally we are too general when we're doing our gratitude practices. And so what happens is people do gratitude practices, and I say, name one thing you have to be grateful for. And they're like, I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for my house. I'm grateful for my kids. And like, that's great. Like, you should be grateful for those things. But if you're going to have a consistent practice, you can't be that general. You'll get bored, right? And so you have to be more specific. And so all the studies that they've done on long-term gratitude practices actually work if you're specific to something that you have to be grateful for that day. And when I'm talking specific, like, I'm so grateful that my niece called me today and we got to have a really da-da-da-da talk, like, not just, oh, I'm grateful that I'm healthy, even though you're grateful for those things. So my intention right now is for everybody to type in where you're calling in or where you're chiming in from, and one thing that you have to be grateful for about this day. Something that's already happened, something that's going to happen. And we'll see everything kind of cascading in through the chat box. I'll catch as many of them as I can. And I always like to start with this. Ah, yes, that we all survived the hurricane today. Thank you. Yes, Japhannette, that's it. I'm grateful for that too. Grateful to be healthy. Grateful for the opportunity to use your dog in dog training session. Grateful to take your mom on a walk. Yes, grateful to talk to your dad today. Wow, here comes the waterfall. So you guys can scroll through and read some of these. Hello from Walnut Creek. I'm very close. So I'm in my hometown in Pittsburgh, California right now in the East Bay. I usually live in Southern California, but I'm with my family. Grateful, Catherine's grateful for her mimosa, tree growing from seeds. Beautiful. This is amazing. Diane is grateful for the cooler weather and just got approved for your state's business funding to help kick your businesses up and running. This is beautiful. Stefano, grateful that your knee is healing. So you can see that with everything going on in the world today, right? Right now, what we need sometimes is to remember what we have to be grateful for. And I don't mean this in kind of the woo-woo, you know, like, oh, just be grateful even though everything's a hot mess way. Like, it's not about using gratitude to spiritually bypass the very real things that are going on in our lives. And being grateful actually even doesn't mean that you're saying that your life is incredible. It's just taking a moment to honor the things that are happening in your life that you have to be grateful for while you infuse that gratitude into the very difficult things that we're all facing. And I just want to honor all of you right now, educators. I've had so much experience this year working with educators as I started my book tour in February, which you can tell how long that lasted. Not very long, going to high schools and colleges in underserved communities. And that, you know, it stopped after a few weeks. And since then, I've been in touch with a lot of educators. And I just want to like name and honor and give you guys permission to just be in the fact that like you're dealing with so much. And you know that. You don't need me to tell you that. But I just want to really name that. There's so much scary, frenetic, inconsistent energy happening right now. There's so many plans that are changing and risks and scariness of the health and not health and uncertainty. And on top of what you're dealing with the kids themselves and the traumas that they're all facing and how you're having to show up, it's a lot. And I just want you to know that you're seen, and our intention today is to hold you so dearly and so tenderly in a space that helps you ground into that space within you that is immovable and unshakable. That space that's inside of you that no matter what is going on in your life, that you can anchor back into this place to remember who you are, to remember what you stand for, to remember where you come from. And I don't just mean that physically where you come from, but I mean where you come from in all that you do. And this is our opportunity today. This is our opportunity with our practice. And, you know, I want to say one other thing, and I'm going to have some slides come up in a moment, is that the fact that we're even here having this conversation about meditation and mindfulness in a room of educators from all over the country with all these different races and ages and genders and ethnicities and socioeconomic backgrounds, like, can we just notice that like this is revolutionary? This alone, that we're here doing this and that you guys are in this group is revolutionary. We are the first generation with the opportunity to even do this work. Our ancestors had to literally give up self-care, give up most of their life purposes, give up their passions to sacrifice and create stability and change for the future generation. And we are that generation. It's us, y'all. And so we're exactly who's meant to be alive in this time. We're exactly who's meant to be here for this moment in history. And when we ground into that place, my intention for you today is that we can wake up and step into that power that's inside of each of us so that we can step into the lives that we know we were born to live. And I can't talk about ancestors for 1 second without talking about this woman. You're going to see my screen in just a second. Oop, how did that happen? Hold on a second. I'm way back in my slides. There we go. So that's my baka. And my baka is my grandmother. And baka is not a special word. The only reason that it's baka is because I'm the oldest kid in my family. And when I was a little kid, you know how when you're like teaching kids how to say words, they were trying to teach me how to say grandma. And they were like, okay, Justin, say grand. And I would go grand. And they would go say ma. And I would say ma. And they go say grandma. And I would go baka. And so she became baka. Which the weird thing is, I just found out 2 weeks ago that baka actually means grandma in Serbian, which is a whole thing. So maybe I was channeling something at 1 year old. But either way, my baka, who I was very close to, one of my greatest friends in my life, several years ago, she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and the doctors told her she only had a couple months to live. And when this happened, it was a huge shock to our family. She was 67, which I consider young, seemingly healthy. And we were just completely devastated. And so I was in Los Angeles living my life, and I flew home to the Bay Area, here to Pittsburgh, where I'm at right now, to be with her. And as soon as I walked into her house, she shut the door, pulled me into her room by her hand, just grabbed my hand and gently walked me into her room, shut the door and sat me down and asked me a question that literally changed the trajectory of my entire life. She said, if you were in my shoes and you knew you were going to die in 2 months, what would you do? And I'm looking at her like, what? Like, I'm like, what are you even talking about? Like, I'm not dying. Well, I mean, I am dying, but just slower than you, I think. Like, but you know, I'm just like, I don't even know what's going on. And she said, get quiet, get still, do that meditation thing you're always talking about. Put your hands over your heart and answer my question. I've been wanting to ask you this for a long time, but because I know I don't have a lot of time left, I'm asking you now. If you were in my shoes and you knew you were going to die in 2 months, what would you do? I closed my eyes and I dropped in and I put my hands over my heart. And before I even knew it, I just felt this well of emotions come like running over me. And I felt like I was going to cry, but I couldn't cry because when I was a kid, they always told me only faggots cry. So I always have a hard time crying. And then I just blurted out and I just said, I would quit every single thing that I'm doing and I would record an album. I would do music. And the thing is, I had always wanted to do music ever since I was a little kid. But I let all the kids who teased me at school about being gay, about being different, make me think I sucked at everything, and I stopped myself. And I think so many of us have these things. We have these dreams and possibilities and ideas and goals, whether it's about our passion or our art or our job or our bodies or our relationship or our finances, that we think are not for us. We think they're not for us because we're too fat or we're too old or we're too ugly or we're too gay or we're not good enough, or they told us don't, or I should have started before I had kids, or I should have started before I went to school, or I waited too long, or all these things. But ultimately we just tell ourselves don't. And so when my grandmother asked me this question, it woke something up inside of me that I thought was completely gone. And I remember when she said this to me, this quote kind of flashed in front of my eyes that I had heard one day, and it's an anonymous quote. Oh, this is little Justin, by the way. So that's little Justin wanting to be a musician when he was a kid. I forgot I threw that in there for you guys. And so I saw this quote, and it says, someone once told me the definition of hell, and it's the last day you have on earth. The person you became will meet the person you could have become. I see your guys' faces. You feel that? That's a big one, right? On the last day you have on earth, the person you became will meet the person you could have become. And so little Justin felt this. Like, I felt this so deeply because I grew up quite literally in a home with gunshot holes on the outside of my house, with domestic violence and trauma and alcoholism and abuse, similar to probably what many of you guys dealt with growing up in your own ways, because we all have our own trauma, and similar to probably many of the kids that you guys are serving right now. And so for me, because we all in some ways try to adapt to our trauma and the things that we've grown up with, I became the overachiever. Anyone else do that? Anyone else do the overachiever? Where for most of my life, my attachment between my achievements and my self-worth was just so intertwined that I didn't know my worth beyond that. And plus, being gay as a little kid, not being accepted for who you are, the one thing that I got validated for and praised for was the things that I was accomplishing, was for being really smart. You know, so I decided to be a really smart kid. And so doing music was the last thing on the list. And I ended up checking every box on the list. You know, like I'm sure many of you, I graduated the top of my class. I got a full ride academic scholarship to go to UCLA. I graduate from UCLA. I'm having, you know, life looks like on the outside exactly what I always thought I had wanted it to look like. But I had this moment where I'm looking at this life that I had thought I wanted to build for myself, and I closed my eyes and realized I had given up completely on my dream. And that even though the outside of my life looked wonderful, inside I wasn't okay. And I think we do this so many times, and we have to learn this lesson so many times. I'm going to stop the screen share for just a moment so I can see you all. But we do this so often in our lives. We try to change the external circumstances, right? Hoping that it's going to change something within. And if we don't have access to that place within us that is endless and infinite, that place that is immovable and unshakable, that place that we can ground into to know if we're trusting our intuition or if we're trusting fear. If we don't have that space, if we don't have a relationship with that space, then we get taken completely off track. But the beautiful thing is, and I know because many people feel like you might be feeling right now, like, oh, I've been off track. Like, you know, how am I off track? Like, what am I doing off track? It's never too late. The dream never gives up on you. If anybody's read The Alchemist, it's just waiting for you to turn toward it and say, yes, I am enough. It's going to take some work, but yes, I see you. And so my grandmother in that moment, when she, you know, asked me that question that changed my life, and I said a recorded album, she said, make sure you promise me you'll do it. And because you don't break promises to your grandma, I went through hell and high water to put out the album a few years later, and my album ended up coming out and charting in the top 20 of iTunes. That's me and my album next to Taylor Swift and Britney Spears. And y'all, I was screaming like a little girl. That was like not what I was expecting, but it changed my life very rapidly. And I share this with you not to say the cheesy thing of like, if I can do it, you can do it too, because that's not true. But what is true is that if this little boy who grew up in a home with gunshot holes on the outside of his house, who spent his whole life planning for a completely different career, went to school for a completely different career, everything for a completely different thing, was able to shift and step into the life that was my calling and the gift that was my life, I know with certainty that with some commitment, you can too. And the thing that got me to this place, the reason why I'm even talking to you about meditation today, is because the thing that actually got me from being that child to, first of all, ever being able to accomplish anything in my life, to second, being able to shift and completely pivot and trust my intuition and go into that space where life gets super crazy, but you still are the center of that storm, was my meditation practice. And I have done a lot of things. I've done everything you can think of. If you can list it for healing, I've done it, okay? And so like I've tried everything, and there's so many things that work. Therapy works, all the different things work. But one thing that I know for sure is the thing that helped ground me into my life and helped me on a daily basis, the thing that expanded all the other work that I was doing in the world, was my meditation practice. And the thing is, and you guys heard this in the in the description, most of y'all faking your meditation practices. And people are really honest with me about this. And this is what a gift of me being a meditation teacher who looks and talks and is like this, because people can be real. Most of the times when we're meditating, we're sitting and we're just beating ourselves up because we can't stop thinking. And then we think we stop thinking for like a second. And then we try to like get ourselves back to that, but then we just think more, and then we feel like we did it wrong, but we sat down, it feels like a chore. You guys are laughing because you know, right? And this is what most people's meditation practices are like. And then you ask them, how is your meditation? They're like, oh, it's just so great. No, it's not. You're just sitting there beating yourself up the whole time, you know, and thinking that that's what we're supposed to be doing. There is another path. There is another way. And the thing that's super important to know is there are so many styles of meditation, and I'm not knocking any of them. But a lot of the styles of meditation that exist and that people are practicing now were made for monks, literally. And to be a monk, like when meditation was created, you had to oftentimes give up everything in your life, your family, not eat, not drink for so many times, sit under a tree and devote your entire life to spiritual practice. No sex, no this, no that, nothing, right? And so they had to create practices, powerful practices, to help them disconnect from their worldly desires, to help them disconnect from their emotions, to help them disconnect from their pain, to help them disconnect from their hunger and their emotions. But the thing is, we are not monks. And, you know, we have first world problems and to-do lists, and we have iPhones and kids and families and passions. And I think what we really want is to be more connected to those things. We want to be more essentially connected to them in a way that makes us feel more alive, not disconnected. And so the practice that I'm going to teach you today is a practice called freedom meditation. It's the style of meditation that I teach in my book. And it is the one practice that I found all over the world now teaching for, I think the last time we did the numbers, it was like 5.6 million people in 40 countries. It's been the biggest gift because it's one of the practices that you can add to your toolbox. I'm not telling you to stop what you're doing, but that you can add to your toolbox. And what I find is it's the practice and some of the tenets of freedom meditation help us turn our practices from being somebody who's trying to meditate into somebody who is actually meditating. Does that sound good to you guys? Are you guys with me still right now? Are we good? Okay, perfect. So one thing that I want to share with you before we get into the practices and some of the other things, and this is really funny. So oftentimes when I show up to teach places or show up to speak places, people are like, when I tell them, oh, I'm a musician. And people are like, okay, yeah, he looks like a musician. Are you a dancer too? You know, like that's obvious. And then when I say, well, I'm also an author and a meditation teacher. Most people, if they're being polite, they like kind of lean in. They're like, well, how'd you get into that? And if they're being a little bit more general, they're like, well, you don't look like a meditation teacher. And I get why. Like, you know, the idea of a Black queer millennial meditation teacher is like not really the image that we normally see. So to prove this point, actually, the first stop on my book tour, I had the absolute gift and blessing to go speak at Google, which was incredible. I'm glad that one didn't get canceled. And so I spoke there and I was like, I wonder if I Googled meditation, how long it would take me to get through Google image results to see a Black man meditating. And so before I saw a Black man meditating, I saw this. Right? And so I see Queen's face on here. I see some of you guys just like, Lord, you know, what is happening? And the thing is, this is cute, right? But the fact that it's more likely for this dog to be teaching meditation than for me to be meditating is a big deal, you know? And so I understand why this happened. And I just want to give you guys just a short context of why this practice is so important and why I'm sharing with you today. So I told you a little bit about how I grew up. And the way that I got into meditation was, you know, I was in college, had showed up, like I said, at UCLA, life being everything that I thought it was supposed to be. Growing up as a boy in the hood with the GPA that I had scholarships out my ass. Like I just had so much money going to college. I was spending it on like 7 jeans when that was a thing and like True Religions. I was just like really just doing too much. But I had this moment where I really sat down and I realized, hold on a second. My life looks exactly like I have always dreamed of. I'm in a nice area. I'm out of the closet. I have money. I'm getting good grades. I'm at the top of my class and I'm still miserable. Why am I still miserable? And it ended up manifesting in an eating disorder that got pretty bad my freshman year. So I'm about 6 feet tall with my hair, and I'm really 5'11", but my hair makes me 6 feet tall. So I'm about 6 feet tall. I weigh 160 pounds right now, but in college at my lowest, I weighed 115. And I ended up needing to go see a therapist, which was my first time doing something like that. And I remember the therapist leaning into me and saying, well, you should try meditation. And you have to remember, this is over a decade ago. I'm 32. And so I literally lean into him and I'm like, meta what? You know, like Oprah hadn't done a meditation challenge. I didn't know no Black people meditating. I was like, wait, I know what that is. My grandma told me that's worshiping the devil. Like I grew up in the church, like there is no way I'm doing this. So he starts explaining this thing to me and I'm like, whatever, we'll see. So I go and do all these practices, like I'm sure many of you guys have done. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm supposed to be doing this, but I don't like this. Like, when am I gonna get out of here? Like, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, like what's going on, you know? And then a miracle happened. And this is one of those pivotal moments in our lives where we see that everything changes after this. So I get invited to go to this party with somebody who I didn't know. One of my friends just said, can you come with me? Because I don't want to go alone. And I go to this party and I sit down. And to give you context, I'm like freshly out of the closet, like eyebrows snatched, like deep V-neck American Apparel t-shirt, hair in a ponytail, like tight jeans. Like I was like living like West Hollywood dream, okay? And I sit down and sitting next to me is this older white gentleman. Older than me. He was in his late 60s, wearing like cargo shorts and probably Crocs or something like that, you know, back then. And I lean into him and he leans into me and says, hey, young man, how was your day? And I said, well, I went to this meditation thing, but I didn't really like it. And I lean into him and I said, have you ever heard about meditation? Because remember, I didn't like think people really knew this thing. I just had found out about it. Little did I know I'm sitting next to one of the world's most renowned meditation teachers and scholars in the planet. His name is Lauren Rose. He's been teaching for almost 40 years. He wrote Meditation Made Easy, Meditation Secrets for Women, the Radiant Sutras, like all these books. So I'm sitting next to this man. And what was amazing about this moment is he didn't let me on to who he was. He didn't say anything. He just started asking me questions. Why do you want to meditate? What's interesting you? So I started telling him how I grew up, telling him about how I was unhappy, telling him about that thing that we all do of trying to change our external world, hoping to change something within, changing our job, changing our hair, changing our relationship, changing our car, hoping that it's going to make us happy. And I said, somebody said I should try meditation. So we talk, and at the end of the night, he rips out this piece of paper and writes his name and his phone number and hands it to me. He says, all right, kid, if you want to learn how to meditate, meet me at the beach at the end of Ocean Park Boulevard tomorrow at 10:45 a.m. So remember, he hadn't told me he was a meditation teacher yet, literally. So I'm thinking, this old man is trying to pick me up. There is no way I'm gonna go meditate at the beach at 10:45 with this person that I'm just meeting tonight. Like, so I go tell my friend, and then she tells me who he is. And obviously I felt super silly. And then I went to the beach the next day. And in that moment, my life changed literally forever. That day changed the trajectory of my entire life. And the practice that I did that day is the exact practice that I'm going to share with you today. And the thing that happened in that practice was, for the first time ever, I saw a future where my possibilities were bigger than my circumstances. Where my possibilities were bigger than my circumstances. And I think that's the thing that we lose as we get older, as we get a little jaded, as we see what the world and the systems and things are like. We forget that our possibilities are bigger than our circumstances. And this is one of the things that I know you guys know with even some of the kids that you have. Like, there's those kids who still think that and believe that, and they're gonna get there. They're gonna get closer. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't be in this moment right now. You know, and so that practice with Lauren brought me back to that place. So at the end of the practice, he says, all right, kid, you have my number. I want you to check in with me every day. Try this every day for 2 weeks. Check in with me every day. And if at the end of 2 weeks you feel like this is working for you, I'll teach you everything I know. And I'm looking at him like, what? Like, I'm still looking at this like old white man, like, why? Like, what does he want? You know? And I asked him just straight up, I'm like, why? And he said, in my 30 years of teaching this practice, I've never seen someone who looks like you and who's gone through what you've gone through interested in this practice. And I think one day there are going to be people who need to hear your voice who don't need to hear mine. I'll never forget those words. And in the moment, because I was a silly little kid, I'm thinking, well, no pressure, you know, but like, okay, but like the rest is really history. I apprenticed with him for 3 years, speaking, teaching, practicing, never with an intention really to become a teacher. But then the moment came when my voice needed to be heard. And so I put out my first book this year, which I'm super grateful for, called Stay Woke, a meditation guide for the rest of us. And it's the first meditation book that really, and I didn't even know this when I was writing it until my publisher told me that, it's the first meditation book that guides people through a practice and intersects that practice very specifically with social justice, environmental justice, and radical change. And the real message of this book is about the internal work that we all need to do to make the external world show up differently. That's what all my work is about. What do we have to do inside? And the reason this relates so importantly and specifically to the social justice movement and everything that's happening in our lives right now and what we're seeing there is because this is what I truly believe. We could defund the police, we could elect a new president, we could redo the whole school system, we could break the whole system down and rebuild it again. If we haven't done the internal work to show up differently, we'll just rebuild the same thing all over again, looking slightly different. We couldn't help ourselves. There's nothing else that we could do, you know? And we've seen this in our own lives. How many of you guys have, so be real, how many of you guys have been in a relationship with somebody, broke up, got in a new relationship with somebody else, and a few months later realize you're in the same relationship with a different person, right? Hello, we've all been there, right? And that's because it's not because of the person, it's because you haven't changed internally to show up differently for the relationship. And so this applies not just for our romantic relationships, obviously, it applies for our relationship with all things. And the reason why this individual work is a revolution, the revolution starts inside, is because what is a nation? A collection of individuals. That's all we are. We're just a collection of individuals. And so if we're not changing at the individual level, how can we expect to change at the collective level. And so this is the work that I'm here to do. And this is why the meditation and mindfulness practice, this is why I even teach this shit. To be honest, you will never see anywhere in my bio, even on my book, I don't even say that I'm a meditation teacher because I don't care about meditation. I only teach it because I know to be true in my heart that it is the number one most important thing that you can be doing in your life to connect into that space, to even do the inner work at the depth that it needs to be done in the first place, to have the capacity to hold the pain and the joy, to have the capacity to hold the uncertainty and the excitement, to hold the happiness and the sadness, the tears and all of it, to expand our capacity to hold more and step into the greatness and the calling that is each of our individual lives, personally and collectively as ancestors on this planet right now at this time. So, okay, I'm gonna stop being so woo-woo about it. And so here's our plan for the rest of our session today. So we're going to go through the practice, which is the Dream Bigger meditation practice, which is really, you know, a peek at how to use meditation to define your life on your terms. And I've already talked about this quite a bit. The way that you're defining it on your terms is by using this internal work. When you get quiet enough to listen, and this is why so many of us are afraid to meditate, when you get quiet enough to listen, you can't ignore the whispers anymore, you know, because you're hearing them consistently. And so this is how meditation, one of the ways it helps us start to define our lives on our terms, because we're even listening to what our terms are versus just listening to what everybody else wants from us. We're going to do a Dream Bigger meditation practice. And then after that, you'll learn how to discover your unique energy signature. And at the end, I might sing you guys a little song. That sounds good to you. I have my guitar with me today, so I might sing you guys a little song. So let's jump in. Before we get into our practice, I just want to cover a few important points. And I know many of you guys are comfortable with meditation and familiar with meditation. So add this to your repertoire, use this language. This is like, just use it, you know, like when you're teaching and speaking to people, don't, you know, this is important stuff. And I want to share it for your benefit and for the benefit of all the people who you're touching. Number one, and this is the biggest myth about meditation, is that meditation is not about relaxing. If anybody who says that, it's a lie. It's not about relaxing. It's about becoming more alive. And to become more alive, that means we have to be able to paint with the full palette of our emotions wheel. We have to feel more, right? To become more alive. And so what happens when you meditate, and even as we do this practice today, is sometimes you'll sit down and meditate and you'll feel peace. And people think that if you're meditating and you feel peace, then you're doing it right. And if you're meditating and feeling something else, you're doing it wrong and you should be trying to get to peace, right? No. The point of the practice is to notice and feel what you're feeling and gain the capacity to hold those emotions without them breaking you and dragging you down. That's the practice, right? And so when you sit to do your practice today and anytime, remember, just like if you're like, oh, I'm not feeling relaxed, if I'm feeling anxious, feel stressed, whatever, fine. That's all part of our process for healing and for growth. Okay, so that's one important point. The second point that I want to make, and this is a big one, is so big that it's on the back of my book. And all the illustrations you're seeing right now are in the book as well. They're all part of the book by this incredible woman artist of color. Her name is Victoria Casanova. She's just incredible. So this is my quote of quotes. If you can worry, you can meditate. If you can worry, you can meditate. And it's true, because you guys know enough about this for me to say this and you get it. They're the same thing. They're literally the same thing. And when they actually study the brain, they function very similarly, except for they release very different feelings and emotions and chemicals into the body. And so when you're worrying, what's happening? You could be doing anything and you return back to this negative thought over and over and over and over and over again. What is that negative thought for you then? A mantra. That's all it is. It's just a mantra that you're coming back to constantly. And what I always say is that fear and faith are the exact same thing. Both of them require you to believe in and focus on something that doesn't exist and hasn't happened yet. And so when we choose faith, when we choose hope, when we choose empowerment, when we choose freedom, we're meditating on what we're choosing that we want to anchor our energy into, other than letting other people's expectations. You guys see what I anchor into always, other than letting the outside world, the external world, tell us what we should be thinking and worrying and coming back to. And so this is how this practice empowers us, again, to start living our lives on our terms with what we really believe to be true. So we're going to get into a little practice together. And let's see. Oh, I just saw some of the comments. Yes, Black queer millennial meditation teacher here too. What? There's two of us here. This is so exciting. Okay, anyway, I'm just feeling excited about you guys here, seeing all the comments come through. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And you know what? Thank you. Somebody just said this, and I want to take 1 second, and we're going to get into our practice. One of the things, here's the book itself, which I'm just so grateful for. And my publisher challenged me in the beginning of writing this because I was afraid to do it, to be honest, to say, okay, you're saying it's for the rest of us. Who's it for? And I was like, oh, I don't want to leave people out. Like, I feel nervous, you know? And she was like, no, go into your heart and speak. Who is this book for? And so I'll read to you guys something that's on page 3. This is right in the opening of the book. So page 3, it says, for my Black brothers and sisters, this is for you. For my LGBTQIA+ brothers and sisters, this is for you. For my women who've had enough, this is for you. For my starving artists and workaholic creatives, this is for you. For my conscious entrepreneurs who want to make an impact, this is for you. For those who have been discriminated against for their otherness, this is for you. For my social justice warriors, this is for you. For my tree-loving planet savers, this is for you. And for all people of color and everyone else who is woke enough to understand why I'm even pointing that out in the first place, this is for you. But most importantly, this book is for us, for the people. And so we can find ourselves in there. And I would have never known a year and a half ago writing this book that I'd be writing it for this time that we're in right now. But I think we can feel who we are as a collective and as a community, even more now than I knew who we were writing for back then. And so this book is for us, and this practice is for us. Because guess what? These practices came from us in the first place. And so, you know, it's very interesting. I wasn't going to say this today, but I will. What I find as I travel around the world and speak and teach, especially in communities of color, is what's happened is these practices that came from, all of them came from people of color. Every single one, all the spiritual practices that we do, from crystals, astrology, tarot, meditation, all of them, from India, Africa, and, you know, all over. And what's happened is the practices were taken away, demonized, colonized, corporatized, and then sold back to us in a way that we feel like, well, that ain't for us. We don't do that, you know? And what I find, and why I have so much passion at bringing this practice back for all of us, and I'm not just talking about race, I'm talking about all of us who are in this movement for change, and specifically for people of color, both of those things. When we come back to these practices, it's like we're coming back home. That's what I find from every single person. It's like we are coming back home. And I know you guys feel that. And we're coming back to our power. So let us all come back to our power together with this next practice that is called the Dream Bigger practice. And the Dream Bigger practice is one of my favorite. And I'm just going to guide you all through it. And I'm going to keep this on the screen right now. You guys don't need to see me at all in this moment. You can relax and get comfortable so that you can drop into that space within you. And I actually think, if I can do it, I'm going to share my audio and I'll throw on a little bit of music for you guys. I feel like that might feel good for us. Let me just do that. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So tell me if you guys can, I'm gonna need your feedback here because I didn't plan this, so we didn't test this part out. Tell me if you guys can hear this now. Yes. And if I'm talking to you, I'm actually gonna turn my video off so you guys don't have to worry looking about me, but I'll come back. If I'm talking like this over the music, can you guys hear me and the music? Yes? All right, let's practice then. So I'd like you to start with your eyes open, actually. And I'd like you to find something in the room or the space that you're in front of you that is not moving, to just look straight at, and preferably not your screen, just any spot. It doesn't have to be special. It could be a spot on the wall, the ceiling, something outside your window. And look straight at this point without moving your eyes. Try to look straight at this point without moving your eyes at all. And while looking at this point, keeping your eyes still, I want you to start to expand your peripheral awareness. Noticing how, without moving your eyes, how far to the right of you can see. And how far to the left of you can see. And how far above and below you can see, all without moving your eyes. And keep expanding, and without moving your eyes, keeping it focused on that point. Take in as many colors and sounds as you can. Take in as many textures and lighting patterns in your environment as you can. And notice how much spaciousness you can take in while keeping your eyes focused on this point. And then go ahead and shut your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so. And I want you to notice that what we just did with our eyes is exactly what you're invited to do with your mind when we meditate. It's the perfect example. We're keeping our minds focused on a point, but also opening up and welcoming in the expansiveness of our thoughts, our sensations, our emotions, our sounds, our feelings. The same way we looked at a point with our eyes and welcomed in the colors and the textures and the things in the room. This is meditation. It's all it is. It's natural to us. It's easy if we allow it to be. So now I invite you to just rest a little bit more. See if you can soften into your body just 5% more. Let yourself be supported in the space that you're in 5% more. And in a moment, I'm going to invite you into an imaginative practice with me, like a visualization. But I don't even like to call it a visualization because so many of us don't imagine just with vision, just with sights, images. You might imagine when we do this with images or movies playing in your mind, or you might get fuzzy images that are incomplete, and that's fine. But you might also get sound or taste or smell, or get a physical sensation in your body, or a change in your emotional state. So as we do this practice, notice what you notice and welcome in all your senses, focusing on what is appearing for you, not just what's not happening. And it doesn't have to be images, and it's okay if it's incomplete or fuzzy. Let's begin. Softening into your space. I'd like you to imagine now a future version of yourself who is living the life of your dreams. You have the body you've always wanted, you're in the house you've always wanted, your job is the way you've always wanted, you're in the relationships you've always wanted. Everything is exactly how you've always wanted and dreamed of. And if that feels impossible, good. Because we have to get into that space where our possibilities are bigger than our circumstances. If we don't think beyond our current circumstances, how can we ever live beyond our current circumstances? So let yourself imagine. If you have multiple ideas or images shuffling in your mind, just land on one, trusting that whatever you land on today is exactly what you were meant to see. You can come back here anytime. No pressure. And let's make it a little more real. Notice in this vision as you imagine this future you. What color are you wearing? Are you indoor or are you outdoor? What's happening in this environment that even indicates to you that you're living the life of your dreams? Let it unfold. Notice any textures or colors or things about the environment, even if they're incomplete or fuzzy, that you can call into the space. Do you hear anything? Do you smell anything? Do you see anything? And what's happening in this vision that indicates to you that you're living the life of your dreams? For the next few moments, just let it expand, taking in more colors and textures. If your mind wanders a little bit, that's okay. Just welcome yourself back. It's normal. And I want you to notice, how does this future you feel to be living the life of your dreams? What does it feel like? And now I'm going to ask you a question, and staying in this sweet space that you're in, I want you to try to answer this question with the first 1, 2, or 3 words that pop into your mind, without second guessing yourself. Here's the question. What energy do you need to cultivate more of in your life now to become closer to being that person that you see in your vision? What energy do you need to cultivate more of in your life now, today, to become closer to being that person that you see in your vision? 1, 2, or 3 words. And for the next 3 breaths, just inhale the energy of those words into your body. Maybe even imagining a color or a texture, if that feels right to you as you breathe with it. And exhale, offer those words and that energy out to everyone in the world who needs it. Do 2 more deep breaths, inhaling the energy of your words on your own timing, and exhaling, offering it up. 1 more time, full breath in, inhaling, letting the energy of those words overcome, soothe every crevice of your mind, of your body, of your spirit. And exhale, offer it all back out to all who are in need, all that you touch, all that you serve. Friends, family, and everyone in between. Beautiful. Go ahead and take another deep breath in and a deep breath out. And when you're ready, stay in this silent space and open your eyes. And I want you to go right into the chat box and type in your words, whatever they are, if you feel comfortable sharing. Take your time to transition, but let's just, before our minds get too far away, just type in your words. All right, let's see if I can get them. The folk woman, exhilaration and vitality. Amy, trust and desire. Adrian, drive and persistence. Alexa, radiant, confidence, trusting. Robert, I am that now. Stacy, courage. Stephanie, calm. Fran, calm, focus, simplify. Aaron, positivity. Janie, fun and relax. So many. Calm, consistency, great energy, grace and peace, self-confidence. Dare, joy. Carol, joy. Shay, free. Kirsten, energy. Tana, confidence, courage, and completion. Beautiful. Keep them coming in. So what we just created, these words, are what in my book I call your unique energy signature. So I want you to write them down for yourself and keep them somewhere. Because as simple as this practice was, I want you to understand how powerful this is. Because what's happening as we decolonize our wellness practices I saw somebody so beautifully typed that in there, knowing that that's where we were going, is what we've been accustomed to doing or almost trained to do in our wellness practices, especially our meditation practices, is to go outside of ourselves, to ask someone else, a guru, a teacher, an app, somebody, tell me what I need to be well. Give me a mantra, give me a practice. I need something, tell me what I need to be well. But at the same time, we're told the answers are within. And so the real point, I'll never forget when my teacher, Lauren, told me this, the real point of meditation is to realize the guru is within you. And so what we just created is a mantra that you can use in your own life, in your own practice. And in my book and all my teachings, the way that I go about everything, and the reason it's even called freedom meditation, is because you have the freedom to create your own practice. What I do in my work and what I encourage everyone to do is not to prescribe people with this is how long, this is how much, this is the words, this is what you do. If you don't use these words, then it's not, doesn't work. And even though you don't know what these words even mean, and I'm appropriating the words anyway, like just do it and trust me. And it's supposed to work magic on your life because it's ancient and you know, all these things that we're saying. And what we're being called to do right now is to go inside that space within us. And I want to just name, like as simple as this was, first of all, meditation is simple if we let it be. What we just did is I said, who are you now? Who do you want to become? And then I said, what energy is in the gap? Notice I didn't say, what do you have to do to become the person in your vision? I said, who do you have to be to become the person in your vision? Because if we're changing at the level of being, then everything we do has different outcomes. And this is exactly what I was talking about in the beginning with us trying to do all these external changes, which I think are good. Like we need to do external change. But if the force of our internal work is not matching the force of our external work, then it's never going to last. It's never going to work. And so what we're doing right now is changing at the level of being. Okay. And this is the question that I just said, if somebody wants to type it, it's what energy do you need to cultivate in your life now to become the person that you want to be in your vision? That's it. And we ask ourselves, and this doesn't mean that you don't use apps and you don't get practices prescribed to you. It just means that we also, if we don't want to be reliant on those people or those things for the rest of our lives, we also need to have a way and a method and a toolbox and an instruction manual on how to get within. People say we have the answers within, but nobody tells us how to get there. And so this was a mini short way. Obviously there's a whole book, you know, but this is like a short way to show you that you do know how to do this. You do know what you need. And it's important because what if I had everybody today do a practice on Fernando's mantra, which was abundance? Would it be harmful? No. But like, you know, somebody else needs confidence and courage. Someone else needs joy or productivity. And so why not dive into your meditation practice? And this is what changes meditation from feeling like a chore to feeling like a treat. It's when you allow your practice to be a moment where you give yourself permission to be with what you love. Not just for the sake of navel gazing and sending love and light, which I think is good, but so that you can cultivate the energy that you need inside of yourself to become who you were meant to be on this planet. Because that's really what we need you to do, more than anything. And so if meditation is not a tool that helps us do that, then what is it for? Really? You know? And so this is the power of our practice, much more than just a practice to help us relax, but a practice to help us become more alive and step into the fullness and the calling and the greatness that is our lives, regardless of what's going on around us. And if you're using that energy that you called upon, like Shay said, free, open, and happy, calm, soothing, and peaceful, if you're coming from that place in what you do, the outside world has no option but to change. But if you don't change where you're coming from, we end up stuck in the same patterns, same cycles, and lost in the mess. I almost said hurricane, but I probably shouldn't given the times right now, so I apologize. But like in the mess of life, of what's happening on the outside. And this gives us a chance to go within. So, in closing, what I want to talk to you guys about, or what I want to do, I'll do one thing, and I'm going to tell you guys how to reach me. If we go just like 3 minutes over so I can sing you guys a song, is that okay? Are you guys okay with that? Okay, I'll try to keep it as succinct as possible. This is one thing that is very important to do. So I just want you guys for a moment to just close your eyes if you're willing. You don't have to. Hands over the heart, just to release a little oxytocin into the body. And I want you to just think of just one main takeaway that you want to take from this talk today, that you want to commit into your long-term memory. And just allow yourself to think about it consciously for about 30 seconds here, so that we're more likely to remember it. And this is one of the things that you might share with somebody later, might share with somebody in your life. What is the most important takeaway that you got from this practice today? So you have it for yourself as a gift, so we can take this inspiration and move it into action. And take a breath in and a breath out, and open your eyes. And I'd love for you guys to type your takeaways in here, and we'll have a cascade of takeaways that we can either send out or use for, whatever we need of the main takeaways from the practice today. And let's see what you guys got coming in. Where did my chat box go? There you are. And feel free to keep typing those in as we continue. Beautiful. Focus on who you need to be more than what you need to do. Beautiful. Allow myself to be more alive, to be still. Enable myself first before I enable my spouse. Amen. The revolution starts inside. I have the power to be who I want if I get out of my own way. Dream bigger. Trust. Meditation should not be a chore. It's a treat. Possibilities are bigger than circumstances. You are enough. This is so beautiful. So before I close out and sing to you guys, I want to offer you a couple things that are really exciting for me to share with you right now. So one best way to stay in touch. My website's justinmichaelwilliams.com. You can reach me there and just search my name. You'll find me wherever. I'm on all the places. And I just wanted to tell you about this thing that I started a few weeks ago called The Kingdom, because I feel like a lot of you guys might be interested in this. So I had this idea when I was in Big Sur that what if there was something where like church, Super Soul Sunday, and a TED Talk had a baby, where we could come together beyond religious, but beyond our divides, where we could come together in a space to be grateful and to praise and to learn wisdom teachings from the greatest places from all over the world with live music, and a space to come together beyond religion, but that doesn't conflict with religion, to supplement this healing that we're all wanting to do in the planet. And as we're fighting for justice, I feel like we all really need places to come together. And so I started this thing called The Kingdom, which is every Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2:11 p.m. Eastern, 7:11 London. It's free. There's been hundreds of people joining. It's been incredible the last several weeks that we've been going, and we do amazing lessons. There's live music, there's people singing. We do a teaching. It's like a TED Talk, like I said, meet Super Soul Sunday, sometimes interviews. And it's free, and there is no donation bucket passed. It's my gift to you all. So if you want to join that, the link to join that, I think they're going to send that around to you. But it's also, I'll type it in the chat box for all of you guys right now. It's very simple. It's just, did I not put it here? I thought I put it here for you guys. Nope. Okay, it's just justinmichaelwilliams.com/thekingdom. Super easy. If you just go to justinmichaelwilliams.com, you'll see it at the top. And then the second thing that feels really important to mention to you all specifically, and this just happened this week, so I'm very excited to share with you. So my tour that I was on before COVID happened was, instead of going to these privileged neighborhoods into bookstores, we were going with my publisher Sounds True to some of the most impacted cities in the United States: Flint, Michigan, Southside Chicago, Detroit, going to high schools and going to colleges and literally surprising the kids, doing a huge like TED Talk music concert style event and surprising all the kids and giving them all free books. And then also giving them a free access to a 40-day guided meditation program that like meets them where they are and makes it fun. We did 4,000 students right before COVID stopped. And we raised $200,000 to go to many more schools. We were on pause because we were planning to pick up in person in the fall. But now that that's not happening, we've pivoted to virtual until we can. Now, the good news about pivoting virtual is we went from being able to do 15 schools to being able to do a lot more schools. And we're looking for more schools. And so we have money and funding to come to high schools. It's not junior high, unfortunately, but high schools and any universities. Everything is taken care of to do virtual events. And if in-person is a thing, it could eventually be in person when that happens. And so anybody who might want to bring us to your school, we literally have $200,000 to spend on this. You can just email tour@justinmichaelwilliams.com. Obviously, it's not up to me where we're going exactly, so I pass on the information to everybody who is involved. So in some places, we're doing like sites for the whole city. So instead of just doing like one city in Chicago, we're doing like a bunch of schools in Chicago since it's virtual and we can. So if you're interested, you can email tour@justinmichaelwilliams.com and I'll pass it along to my team. And I'm sure everybody will try their best to get back to you if you want to bring us to your school virtually to offer this to the kids and to the rest of your teachers. So in closing, I think about this woman, my Baka, who never got to see, she passed away 9 months after. They said it was going to be 3. And this is why I hate when the doctors say they know when you're going to pass, because they don't, but it was 9 months. And it was the hardest thing that I've gone through, one of the hardest things that I've gone through in my life. And it also gave me the greatest gift, the gift of living my life fully and stepping into my life fully. And my mission now is just to keep spreading a little bit of Baka's love and wisdom to all of you out into the world so that you can step into whatever that part of your life is that you're craving for. And it doesn't have to be about giving up your job and going to find your purpose and live in your thing. Like that's not real. Okay. That's like the most privileged thing that people say to do. What is real is, what is that calling on your life? What is that thing that you're avoiding? And how can you just take baby steps in committing to doing it? Whether it's about your body, your health, your family, your money, your job, your work, or who you are being, most importantly. And so as we close, never would imagine this little boy could be where we are now. But as we close, I just want one last moment with you guys, hands over the heart, eyes closed if you're willing. We already went forward and imagined our future selves, but just for a moment right now, I'd like you to imagine the childhood version of yourself. At any age, doesn't matter, just notice as you imagine this childhood you, are you indoor or are you outdoor? What color is the childhood you wearing? And what did that childhood you need from you at that time? And right now we have a moment just to say to that child inside of each of us that you are enough, that I got you, that no matter what's going on in the world, I will not give up on you. No matter how much we meditate or how much personal growth work we do or how much we go to school or how much we learn, there's always that child inside of each and every one of us who just wants to know they're enough, not for what they do, but for who they are. And so this next song that I'm going to sing to you guys is called I Am Enough. And a song that came out with my book, and the words are, I am enough, I am golden, baby, yeah. And so keep yourself muted because if you are unmuted, it'll kind of be jacked up, but you can, you're welcome to sing along. And when it ends, right when it ends, let's just drop back into that space in our heart to notice how we're feeling. I'm so grateful to be here with you guys today. I'm sorry we're a few minutes over. Are we all good right now? Am I safe? Do I have to feel? Okay, thank you. No way y'all getting out of here without me singing to you, so we're doing it anyway. You guys deserve this time. You deserve this time more than anybody in the world. All right. This is I Am Enough. Can you guys hear the guitar? Yeah? Cool. Well, I see you guys all in the chat box. Thank you too. I love you. This is a prayer for that child inside of each of us that just wants to know they're enough. Little boy, don't cry. me say enough. One day I'll look into your eyes, show you you don't need to hide behind disguise. No, spread your wings, you're terrified. Don't be afraid, you're born to fly. I'm by your side, yeah. I am enough. I am golden, baby. I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. I am golden, baby. I am enough. I am enough. Oh, little girl, it's alright. You've taken the blame. Enough. No. Little boy, don't hide. You've been ashamed. Enough. One day I'll look into your eyes, show you you don't need to hide behind disguise. No, spread your wings, you're terrified. Don't be afraid, you're born to fly. I'm by your side. Here we go. Say I am enough. Sing along. Hey, I am golden, baby. I am enough. I see you, you got it. I am enough. I am enough. Oh, I am golden, baby. I am enough. I am enough. No, I am enough. I am golden, baby. I am enough. I am enough. Oh, I am enough. Yeah, I am golden, baby. I am enough. I am enough. No. Ooh, I am enough. I am enough. Ooh, I am enough. I am enough. All right, listen up. We're gonna go to You Are Enough. And I want you to look at somebody on the screen and sing You Are Enough to them. I know y'all want to. You feel it. I see you bursting open. Don't be shy. We're going to sing this to the child inside of each of us. You are enough all together. It's You Are Enough. You are golden, baby. Yeah. Ready? Here we go. Find somebody to look at. Looking at you. You are enough. You are golden, baby. You are enough. I see you. You got it. You are enough. That's right. Wait. You are enough. Oh, you are golden, baby. You are enough. One more time. Look at a different person. Come on. Last time. Hey. You are enough. You are golden, baby. You are enough. I'm looking at Dawn and Julie right now. You are enough. And Marcia. You are enough. And Jill. You are golden, baby. You are enough. And Allie and Queen, we're gonna go to We Are Enough. We are enough. That's right. We are golden, baby. We are enough. This is our moment. We are enough. This is our time. We are enough. We are golden, baby. We are enough. We are enough. No, we are enough. We are golden, baby. We are enough. We are enough. Yes, we are. We are enough. Oh, we are golden, baby. We are enough. We are enough. No. Ooh, I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. You are enough. We are enough. We are enough. We are golden, baby. And no matter what you're going through, no matter what's happening in your life, no matter how much money is in your bank account, no matter how much money is not in your bank account, no matter how much uncertainty you have, you are worthy of this life, of this gift, and the freedom that is your birthright. And I hope today helped to wake up and inspire just a little bit of that in you today. I love you. I thank you. I honor you. Breathe for Change. It's an absolute honor to be here with you all, and see you somewhere else along the way.